So Patriot Front is active again. If you don't remember what Patriot Front is, it is a white supremacist group, according to the Anti-Defamation League. It is a white supremacist group which was formed by disaffected members of Vanguard America back in 2017, following the Unite the Right white supremacist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. So, you know, it's like the Proud Boys or whatever. Like, it's just one of many kind of self-appointed militia group things. But yeah, they're white supremacists. They present themselves as like, oh, we're patriotic nationalist. Thank you, Jonathan, for the $5 donation. I really appreciate that super chat. And if you're not familiar, they use this symbol. This is their symbol. Oh, the donation came through. Nice. And recently, they have gone marching again in Nashville, Tennessee, in downtown Nashville. I have not watched this video yet, so let's see. America! Someone I saw retweeted this was like, some of them are really going with the military marching in step thing, and at least some of them seem like they're self-aware about how goofy they look. Life, liberty, victory, I think. The audio is a little bit scrungly for me, but yeah. So we've got Confederate flags, we've got American flags. They are all covering their faces. It's like the white facial covering plus sunglasses. Oh, this guy must have like tattoos. He's wearing a sleeve on his right arm. It's so funny how they act like their ideology is the popular common ideology, but they also like have to hide their identities or they could lose their job, you know? Pretty funny. They got to know they're acting the same as the Klan. You would think that there was some amount of self-awareness. And I mean, to an extent there is. Like, you know, Klan members covered their faces. So are these guys. I mean, of course, the same could be said of, you know, BLM protesters who are wearing masks to not get COVID, right? But I think in this case, it's like, oh, you claim that your ideology is like the good, right, and common one. And weirdly enough, you also are all probably in positions of power. Yeah, they're so proud they cover their faces. Yeah, these aren't the Proud Boys. This is Patriot Front, but still, it's kind of the same concept. Someone's got a snare drum. Okay.
We lay ultimate claim to the pride of our mighty nation's legacy, because without the race of men that built America, without the ironclad resolve of our ancestors, there would be no America. We are heirs to an expansive and continental homeland purchased with immeasurable sacrifice. The most natural of human.
It's so funny. He's like, oh, this nation was built by white men. Essentially, that's what he's saying. But also, like, it's been built by immeasurable sacrifice. And it's like, yeah, do you mean like the black lives that were ground into mulch to build this country? Or like the Native American lives that were ground into mulch to build this country? It's like not a good thing. It's not a thing to be proud of. The founders would hate these guys. I actually don't know that that's the case, but you know, that's because the founders were slave owners and these guys want to bring slavery back.
Truth, the pride of one's home, the instinct of nationalism is natural. Patriotism is inevitable.
Okay. Interesting. And it's like, if they were only talking about patriotism and nationalism, like, again, why would you need to cover your faces? If it wasn't also white supremacist, you would think that they would be like willing to air out their ideas. It's funny. Yes, they are COVID deniers. This type of person is a COVID denier. And it's amusing that the fact that they're wearing face coverings might like, on some level be reducing the amount of COVID spread. But there were so many people commenting about this going, oh, these people aren't doing anything illegal. And it's like, okay, so they're marching in the street and it doesn't look like the street has been blocked off. It seems like, do you think that these white supremacists asked the city for permission? Because if you have a big march like this, especially if you're going to be marching in the street, you have to like ask for permission. So either they didn't ask permission and they are doing something wrong, or they did ask permission and they're little babies. And that's funny. Hi, I'm Alexander and this is Mitternacht. You should hit the like button and subscribe and check out the Patreon. And ooh, look at this hoodie I'm wearing. It's merch. Check it out. Links in the description. Thank you. would the city have granted a permit to march to an explicitly well-known white supremacist group? Interesting question. Yeah, funny how patriotism and nationalism are supposedly natural, yet they need to be enforced by extreme violence and authoritarianism. We've made this same point about gender. If the gender binary is so natural, then why is it that you have to work so hard to enforce it? Why do you have to impress upon little boys that they're little boys and they need to do and act a certain way? And the same with little girls. Like, you know, if this is such a natural system, why does it require you to put so much work into maintaining the ideology? So, and I will also say that there's an article from News Channel 5 Nashville. Members of far-right group marched through the streets downtown. Dozens of men in blue shirts and khakis covering their faces with cloth sunglasses and wearing baseball caps marched. They climbed out of the back of 3 U-Hauls in the parking lot of Nissan Stadium. Yeah, that was one thing that I did want to call attention to is, and we did see this with a group of like Proud Boys who were trying to rough up a pride parade a couple years ago. They get in these U-Hauls and like stand in them, which is not, I don't think that that's part of your contract with U-Haul. I think U-Haul might take some issue with you doing this. You know, some people were saying, hey, let's zoom in on that license plate and notify U-Haul that they used these incorrectly. Like, what are y'all doing in there? Is there enough air for you in there? Are you just assuming you won't be in there long? It's got to be hot as hell in there, too. I guess I don't know how hot it is in Tennessee right now, but wow. Is it like a circle jerk? Is that what's happening in there? These are the questions that I want to ask. These are the important questions. So they were apparently marching with a Reclaim America banner, American flags, a Confederate flag, passing out flyers while chanting their way to the front of the Capitol. They also held red, white, and blue shields. Fascinating. Like, what do you mean Reclaim America? You people own America. White men, you own America still. Why? Yeah, I'm assuming that it's illegal to ride in the back of those U-Hauls, or at the very minimum, it's a violation of the contract with U-Haul. Yeah, you're not allowed to be in the back of a vehicle without a seatbelt, so it is illegal. Yeah. Yeah, that's a COVID hotbox. That's what they're doing in there. So apparently they also spray painted their logo under Woodland Street Bridge, which is vandalism. So they did commit at like 2 crimes. 2 crimes. They did the U-Haul and they all stood in the back, and that's a crime. It's illegal. And then they also did a vandalism, you know? They're so mad about all the BLM protest nonsense, like the occasional property damage that occurred during that. But here they are, white supremacists doing property damage. I can now label every white supremacist as someone who condones property damage. That's how that works. SPLC calls Patriot Front one of the most prominent white supremacist groups in the country. In 2022, the FBI assisted in the investigation and arrest of 31 members of the group for conspiring to riot in Idaho at a Pride event. Yeah, that's the one. They did the U-Haul thing back then, too. That same year, the city of Boston condemned the group for marching through the streets. Similar things have happened in Nashville. In February this year, racist flyers have been spread around Nashville in the past. Regarding Saturday's march, the Tennessee Democratic Party made a statement calling on Republican lawmakers to condemn the acts of the group with them. So, and yeah, a couple people have also pointed out, you know, where are the cops? In this video, you don't see any cops anywhere. I'm gonna mute it. Like, you don't see any... It's an unlawful protest, potentially. You know, they're marching through the streets that cars are driving on, so the streets have not been appropriately sectioned off. I went to a Pride parade last month, and yeah, they section off the street. They section off the portion of the street that the people are going to be walking on. So they did not get permission from the city to do this. And there is no police presence whatsoever at no point in this video. And the reason is because you're seeing the police. They're right there. You're seeing them. If you ever wonder why you don't see Batman and Bruce Wayne in the same room at the same time together, like, why don't you ever see police at white supremacist rallies? Well, you do. You see police at white supremacist rallies all the time. One of the U-Haul boys who protested at Pride last year got busted for CP. Oh, wow. He had the photos on his phone when the cops arrested him. And he was claiming to be anti-groomer. Wow. Utah Patriot Front extremist pleads to guilty on CP charges. They protest too much. They always say, oh, we're against groomers. We don't like that. But these are also the same people who have CP on their phone, or they want 12-year-old girls to be able to get married with their parents' permission. Like, they want parents to be able to sell their 12-year-old girls to their 50-year-old friends. That's what they want. Even if the cops aren't in the groups of these white supremacists, they stand on the side and do nothing while these white supremacists commit acts of violence and other illegal acts. Right. We've discussed it. I can't remember if we did a segment about it, but, or maybe it was just a discussion we were having in the Discord server, but there are instances of, you know, these protests at college campuses regarding Palestine, like they're requesting that their colleges divest from their financial interests in Israel, or like supporting Israel. I've seen videos of Zionists, or at least people who have the Israeli flag on them, doing violence on pro-Palestine protesters, and the cops are literally just standing there. Like, there was a whole 2-minute long video I saw recently of like a guy assaulting a pro-Palestinian protester multiple times right in front of the cops. And the guy even looked at the cops and was like, are you going to do something about this? Like, and they just stood there. Like, I know that, you know, anti-Semitism is a very particular kind of racism, but at the same time, white supremacy and Zionism go hand in hand. Like, it's that deeply religious belief, the Christians, the super Christian belief that like Israel needs to exist for Christians and Jews, and like it's the promised land, and like it somehow matters that they have control over the region, you know, like it is, for some reason, white supremacy and Zionism are just like, it's tight. It's tight. I've also seen this stuff happen in front of my eyes at protests I attended in Oregon, a supposedly progressive state. Right. You know, we can't assume, even in a progressive state, that things are going to be safe. Like, this is happening in Tennessee, and you might think, oh, whatever, it's happening in Tennessee. Or this guy with the CP was in Utah, and you might think, okay, well, yeah, Utah is pretty backwards, whatever. But we covered a murder of a trans woman that happened in Minnesota, where they have sanctuary state laws, like safe state laws for LGBTQ people and trans people explicitly, and yet violence can still happen there, right? Nowhere is like an enshrined safe location. It's just like, are there places where the law is antagonistic or not? I think it would have been funnier if these guys had all gotten arrested, like the guys in the U-Haul in Idaho, I think is what it was, got busted for standing in the back of a U-Haul on their way to a pride parade. And they, like, some of the guys had billy clubs, and it's like, what were you planning to do there? That would have been a much more funny end to this story, but I think, you know, it's amusing enough that these people, you know, they're like, oh, we're just patriots, you know, we're just nationalists. Nationalism is normal. And then they're hiding their faces, and they're doing a presumably unlawful protest, and they vandalized things, and like they illegally stood up a bunch of guys in the back of a U-Haul. You know, if the law actually applied to white people, they would be so screwed. Do we have any more commentaries on this? Or should I just go ahead and add that to my notes? Patriot Front, Patriot Front. Oh, I guess it's worth mentioning that News Channel 5 reached out to Metro Police, who simply said they were aware of the presence of Patriot Front, and then the group has since left. Girl, yeah, that's the thing though. They're never going to enforce the law against white supremacists. That's why it's so dangerous in this country right now. Last month was Pride, now it's time for Wrath. Thank you so much to my patrons, including Tiago Nascimento, Mersh Rolvog, Jack, Amanda B., Michelle Winter, Wellington Marcus, Danielle McDonald, DZXN, Spooky Heather Sylvia, Pasnell Infinity, Suzanne Maynard, Sojo, Jamie Jam, Dizzy Quiche, Jericho, Kevin Young, Liam Hodgson, Athiet, Elavie Nobody, Mr. Atheist, Elizabeth Bartell, Celeste, Nova, and Michelle Frattaroli.